Well, hello there and welcome. My name is Kylie Patchett and I'm your host, and welcome to the Wild and Finally Fucking Free podcast. This show is all about sharing the real and raw stories from women who have undergone midlife metamorphosis, taken a leap of faith, or broken the ties that bind them in patterns of staying stuck, small, and like their needs don't matter. You see, I believe that the years leading up to and during menopause are a rite of passage, a deep invitation after so many years of giving our time, attention, and energy to others to carve out the same time, energy, and attention in ourselves, in our health, our love, our connection, our vitality, our purpose, our real needs and deep desires. You know, those ones lying dormant underneath all the duty, responsibility, pushing, striving, and achieving of our 20s and 30s? You see, at this stage in our lives, we find ourselves shifting identity potentially, no longer caring as much what other people think, and left wondering why on earth we have not given ourselves permission to do life in the way we truly want to. In this show, I speak to the women brave enough to truth talk their own midlife shedding skin stories, and the healers and helpers who help them transition through these crossroads of change. This is the midlife magic you didn't even know you needed, and I am so freaking glad you found us. Let's dive in. I am absolutely stoked to be talking to this next lady. I actually admitted just before we press record that I felt like I was meeting a rock star, so I'm a little bit nervous. So please bear with me. I would love to introduce you to Lou Johnson. Hello, Lou. How are you?
Hello, I'm hot. It's really hot in Sydney, but I'm enjoying the heat.
I was thinking before, because we're in 35 degrees. I've got no air conditioning on because I can't record with air conditioning. I'm like, if you hear a dull thud in the middle of this interview, it's either Lou or I collapsing on the floor. Don't be worried.
Yeah,
we'll get back up. Now, Lou, before I ask you to introduce yourself, I want to read a couple of things from this article that I didn't know that Lou Johnson was out there, and then you came across my windshield in a huge way. So Lou is actually a writer for Women's Agenda, and she wrote about 2 weeks ago. Is that about? Well, you probably didn't write it 2 weeks ago. Published an article, and this is the topic, and then you will know exactly why Lou's here. If we don't talk about menstruation, motherhood, mental health, menopause, and the messy in-between of life and work, nothing will ever change. Therefore, you are a rock star, because that is the sort of stuff that I love to talk about. So before we dive into everything that you believe about this, can you introduce yourself to our beautiful listeners, please?
Sure. So I have worked in communication, I guess, for a long time. I've worked in publishing, and isn't it funny? I'm leading with what I do. So I should actually say I'm a 54-year-old cis white woman.
Yes.
Who is a mother of two, mostly pretty happily married. Yeah. And for my working life, I've spent most of it in publishing. So I've always been around storytelling, and I've always been really driven by connection and the power of stories to do that. I have also worked in senior leadership roles, mostly within that industry, since I was in my 20s. Beautiful. And I've always really been a very passionate believer in being able to be, as much as we can, our true selves in the workplace. And I think probably for the last 10 years or so, I've just felt this increasing desire to do my bit to shift the workplace paradigm, which I think isn't serving any of us anymore.
Yeah, it really isn't, is it? I mean, we will dive in. One of the things that I really loved about your more formal bio when you sent it to me was this little bit that says, as a publisher, leader, writer, and speaker, she's particularly interested in breaking down taboos, inclusion and empowerment, and advocating for positive change in the workplace. And I guess that's the why behind you're saying, if we don't speak up, change can't even happen. If we don't even know that, or if we're not talking to each other about how broken the system is, then we're not allowing the change.
And sometimes how broken we might be.
Yeah.
And maybe not permanently broken, but maybe fragile.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that our human frailty is one of the most beautiful things about us. And I think not just in workplaces, but in life, often that frailty is seen to be a weakness. And that's why I think, and I see so many people punishing themselves for that as well as masking it. And I think that there's a great liberation that comes with the unmasking and kindly opening up things to talk about. And I, for some reason, feel quite okay about sharing my stuff if I feel that it's going to be useful for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. Because as you're talking, all I can think is we're all in these little silos called our minds. Mm-hmm. And we all are very aware that we're fragile and we're strong and we're gentle and we're all of the facets of being a human being. But for some reason, somehow we have these little silos in our brain and we're all pretending that we're all okay. And it's like, well, how is that serving any of us? And I think too, once I start, and I'm very much the same, very happy to say I'm actually struggling. I just posted on my social media a couple of days ago. I'm like, I literally for the last 3 days of my cycle just need to lie down. Like I just need to lie down. I have got no energy. And so I now suit my life to have that ebb and flow.
Yeah.
But when I was in corporate, interesting, and I'd love your take on this. When I was in corporate, I didn't even think about doing that. I just pushed on because
you would feel that you couldn't, wouldn't you?
Well, what am I going to do? Ring my male boss and go, I've hit perimenopause. The last 3 days, I either want to rip your face off or cry and sleep, and I can't come to work.
Yeah, and also it's the, I keep using the word paradigms and gender norms. I mean, gender norms are something I really want to keep challenging because, I'm a participant in them. And we don't speak up because it's a bit like what I was saying about showing our frailty. Somehow that means either that we think that either you can't, like it's just not socially permissible.
Yes.
Or you don't because you just feel like you shouldn't.
Yes.
Or you don't because you feel like if you start to, you're crossing a line between personal and work.
Mm-hmm.
But also if you admit that there's a lot going on, it's like the floodgates will open.
Yes.
Because we are, and we've been conditioned, and I'm always really, really conscious of my extreme privilege when I say these things. But we've been conditioned to, somebody used the words foot soldiers. So we're foot soldiers, we just trudge on. And it's the whole thing about an examined life. And the thing I find, I kind of love that I'm sharing stuff and people are going, yes. And I always thought that I was really open and creating these encouraging spaces. And by and large, I really strongly believe that I have. But even I was doing it. I'm okay. Ever ready bunny.
Do you, I'm interested in because in this article you share, it's a very long article and you go into lots of different things that had happened in your life that also happened intertwined amongst perimenopause, menopause. And I'm interested to hear, I know, I mean, in one way I hate asking these hypothetical questions because they're so hypothetical, but if you were at the stage in your comfort level about being completely honest, would it change a lot of the things that went on in your earlier 40s? Like you talk about in the article about when when your kids were sick and you were, doing these very high profile jobs with a lot of other stuff going on in the background.
Yeah. Some of them, and also I was relatively outspoken, but not outspoken enough. And that was because, again, the paradigm I was operating in made it hard for me to speak up. So, for instance, when I was really sick with my first daughter, I broke a norm. I had to tell my boss at 6 weeks when I was 6 weeks pregnant because I was so sick.
Yeah.
And I just thought, can I swear? I just thought, fuck it.
Go swear away.
Great. Love
We've
it.
got a swear word in the title, Lou. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. But I was just like, oh, fuck this sort of, I can't say anything before 12 weeks. And I'd weighed up we don't do that in case something happens. But then I thought, well, if something happens, it'd probably be good that people know that I've got something going on.
Absolutely.
So I have broken those sorts of taboos in the past. But of course, when I did those sorts of things, people go, oh God, can't believe you're telling people and you're not even at 12 weeks. Or, but also I probably shouldn't have been at work at all. It's sort of like I said that I said I was pregnant, and then it was like, so I've told you I'm pregnant, so now I'm okay, and I'll go off and be really sick. But yeah, and when I look at even that little sliver of time, I literally, I think the adrenaline would carry me through the days. And in some ways, going to work distracted me from feeling terrible. So maybe work really helped me through that time as well. But yeah, it must have put a bit of pressure on me. So
I wonder whether it's the wisdom of age. And I mean, I definitely have very strongly felt that the older I get, the more gentle and compassionate to myself and everyone else in my life, as you know, you soften, or for me, that's been my experience. But I look back, I was managing a medical company when I was pregnant with my first daughter. It had taken me a very long time to fall pregnant, and blessed to be pregnant. It didn't even occur to me to say, because I was managing a sleep and respiratory lab. So we worked 24 hours a day by definition. So we had a day shift and a night shift, 7 till 7 and 7 till 7. And if someone didn't turn up for the night shift and we were short-staffed, I would quite often do a 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
And I was doing that when I was 8 months pregnant. I look back now and go, what on earth possessed me to make that okay? I think at the time, I don't know, I was so connected to that boss woman kind of persona that I'd built for myself, that I could do anything.
Lean in period too, wasn't it? And do you think, I think for me, it was a big part of my identity was wrapped around what I was doing. And I was genuinely stimulated by my work.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And so I kept moving. But also I think that there was a little bit of, you don't want to show weakness. I'm saying that in inverted commas.
Yep.
And it was very much that period of, well, of course, I'm pregnant, but it's not going to affect the deliverables.
Do you know what? You're actually reminding me, because I was just about to say that company was run. So I reported directly to a board of directors, and there was, I have to think about who out there will be listening that knows these people. I think I'm pretty safe. Six thoracic physicians, so 6 specialists, and they were all 50 to 60. And I'm talking back in I fell pregnant with Abby in 2003. So, the beginning of the 2000s. Yeah. When I was interviewed for the job, one of the questions was, how soon will you get pregnant and leave?
Oh, I got asked that too.
And I was just like, so I knew what I was dealing with. Yeah. So there was no way on God's earth I was going to start saying, no, I'm not able to do that because I'm pregnant.
Same. And I got asked that in my interview, and I said, you're not allowed to ask me that question. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that you have, because yes, I am planning on having children. Is that a problem?
Yes.
And it wasn't. And in some ways it was easier, because cards were on the table. Yeah. And why should it really be an issue? But yeah, it's interesting. Different time.
Definitely.
And I think that's a good thing to share those lessons. But I'm not sure that the pressures on women have eased dramatically within the workforce.
Hey gorgeous, we interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode. I don't know. Yeah, the conversations that I have with people still very much in the corporate space is that word weakness comes up a lot. Mm. And I know certainly in my last role, I definitely would have, if I'm connecting to how I would have felt in my body to walk into that particular person's office that I reported to and say, I'm really struggling with mood through the beginnings of perimenopause, which was very much where I was 12 months ago, still working 12 months ago. And I was swinging from this not ridiculous, I'm not minimizing anything, rage to like bawling my eyes out and back again. And I was just like, what on earth is happening? I didn't even realize that it was perimenopause at the beginning. I just thought I was going a bit nuts. No, exactly. But feeling into, if I'm really honest about it, and we're talking 12 months ago, I would still have had a massive fear about showing, again, in inverted commas, weakness. And it's
it's so interesting, isn't it? And I mean, there's a little bit of a fuzziness around timelines of the article because you can't capture everything. But for part of that period, when I say I was heading up a company, I reported to people offshore. So I could, in many ways, set the tone of the culture and communications internally. And I did tell, one of the things I disclosed in the article was that I got a diagnosis. That we have a family genetic condition. I actually shared that with the leadership team. But I didn't share with them how all the other stuff that I've described in the article. I didn't really share with them the fact, because I'm a bit like you. I actually thought I thought I might be having a bit of a breakdown at first.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
And because there's all that other stuff going on, so you go, oh my God. And because, again, we're so tough on ourselves, we go straight to, oh my God, I'm not coping. How come I'm not coping? Yeah. I'm only in my 40s. I'm really capable. I run a business.
I'm broken.
Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't, and you don't want to disclose any of that because you think that, that if you kind of let go a bit, that it will all fall apart. So I think that's interesting, but that's why it's even more important to share the stories. And then when I went into the other job after that was different, because that was a strange thing too, because I'd gone from being somebody who led the business and reported to people offshore to suddenly my boss was literally in the same building. It's I wanted to delve into this with you because you have been in positions where you've been like in quite senior, very senior leadership positions, and so you do get that ability to influence culture. But what you're describing, if I'm hearing you correctly, is it was almost a bit of a double-edged sword too, because people are looking to you for guidance. You don't want to show potentially that might be something going on in the background that, Well, yeah, and I think as somebody in a leadership role, you can't always share. Like, it's not fair to share all of that.
Yeah,
I think it's really important when you're leading a business to show a level of vulnerability, to be authentic, to be kind, to model that it's okay to be human. But it's sort of by, I'm grappling with this, but it's sort of by necessity needs to have some kind of boundary wrapped around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not my issue, my problem is not that other person's problem.
No.
But if it's having a bearing on how I'm interacting with that person, then I should be self-aware and enough and courageous enough to find a way of communicating that without necessarily having to give them all the details, because really they might not care that much, like not want to know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Too much information.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a funny thing, because I've been mostly in kind of team leader or middle management-y sort of roles, and I had this really amazing mentor when I was still in Queensland Health a long, long time ago. And one of the things that she used to say to me is, share up and lead down. So, and then if there's issues, obviously you're whinging, not whinging, but problem solving up, but not putting pressure on the people below you, because really, by definition, similar to our kids, it's not their responsibility to take care of us. It goes in the other direction. But it's a tricky thing, because if you're not showing it, like by showing your vulnerability, you are influencing culture, and you're also inviting other people to be more fully themselves in the workplace.
Absolutely. So there are probably ways of framing it, I think, and that's probably something that we all have to coach ourselves in. So it may be, so the framing becomes modelling.
Yes.
I'm going to take a couple of days off because I've been I've got a lot going on, and I think I need to take a bit of care of myself so I can do the best job in all parts of my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, when you're struggling, you don't necessarily have the presence of mind to do that, or the capacity. But I think that's the way to do it. In terms of the sharing up, I think sharing up is often really hard.
Yeah, depending on who you're sharing up to.
Leading's far easier.
Yeah.
In my opinion, sharing up, because that's where you also have to get really courageous sometimes and push it a little bit. I mean, I was chatting to somebody else the other day and saying that there was a moment, so a bit like saying that I was pregnant early on, and when I was very menopausal in my boss's office, and trying to desperately to think of the name of something, because I think I went for a period of about 12 months where I literally felt like I had zero recall. And which, of course, you have that whole mean voice in your head going, you're a bloody idiot, what's wrong with you, you've just lost it, right? So, but I had this also, got too many thoughts in our heads all the time, aren't there? I had this other little thought bubble just going, no, do it. And so I said, as I was going, and then I said, oh, bloody menopause, it makes it really hard for me, it really affects my
find the word.
And he kind of jolted, but he also was very gracious in that he just went, oh, right, okay.
And I wonder behind the scenes.
He kind of rolled with it, and as he should have, to be
absolutely
honest. But I didn't feel less than for doing that, and that was a sharing moment.
Yes, definitely. And I think what you're saying, the whole thing about speaking up is normalizing experiences, or helping to normalize experience. I just did yoga training specifically for the stages of menopause. And one of the things that the teacher in Ireland, Niamh Daly, just really, really hit home to me, how important it is. And I know yoga teaching and leadership and business is very different, but what she was talking to us about is just normalizing. So if she's in the middle of a yoga class and she has exactly the same thing that happens to you, she says, oh, you know what? One of the ways that menopause is affecting me in this moment is I cannot think of what that pose is called. So let's just call it the donkey. And, but that's the way that she, and, if you think about that, it's just creating a safe place where people, then that started to be, and exactly what you were saying before, like with the modeling thing, it started to meet her in her yoga classes and in her yoga teacher training, where it was just, normal.
Yeah.
To be like she, you know, she has males go to her yoga classes as well, and she'll be like, oh, lads, I'm having a hot flash. Just give me a moment. Okay, let's go. And, you know, it just sort of rolls in with her language. Obviously, you're not necessarily going to do that in corporate, but I think that
So I'm hearing stories of more and more women doing that quite insistently and loudly, which is great. I think, and I mean, I want to normalise it. That's why I'm speaking up.
Yes.
But I think one of the reasons it is also difficult, and I've referenced this in the article, is saying that it's menopause immediately feels like it date stamps you.
Yes.
And it sort of signals, is she getting towards the end of her career? And I think, well, because it does. It tips into ageism. It tips into big sexism stuff. You know, it's the whole turning into the crone, all that sort of stuff. And I'm very comfortable with my, you know, body image. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I'm not too hung up on that. But it still is, I imagine, and probably even for me, it's one of the reasons people are a bit thoughtful about it. And also, I guess it's also all this unknown. So I'm going to jump on that and say, I think another great reason to normalise it is that information is power, knowledge is power.
Yes.
So for me, one of the best things I did when I had my kids was I did fantastic prenatal classes with so very, very empowering prenatal classes.
Yep.
You know, and of course I was going down the path of a natural birth and all those things. And of course, no, not of course, but I turned out, you know, it went the opposite direction and emergency Caesar. But I was okay with all of that, long labour, emergency Caesar. I was really, really, really okay because I understood the stages and I understood my actions at every moment of those stages. So we were talking before about the fact that so many of us hit perimenopause and go, holy hell, I'm losing my marbles.
Yes.
If we talk about this, then somebody in your audience, somebody who read that article goes, oh, maybe it's perimenopause.
Yes.
Or maybe they've done a bit of research before and they sort of start to see some of those signs. And, you know, because the amount of women I know who suddenly started seeing psychologists at perimenopause, and maybe that's a really good part of the whole equation anyway, because it is a very interesting sort of midlife crossroads time anyway.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
But just for us to share the knowledge, and that knowledge would have been shared in times gone by, at least amongst the women's circle, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And that's what, when you were saying about being passionate about storytelling in all of its forms, that's exactly why I love having these conversations, because like I'm a biologist by, you know, original training. I'm also a health coach. I've, you know, been teaching in health and wellbeing for a long, long time. And I still did not put together this.
Wow.
No, I was absolutely clueless. And I think part of it is that I don't feel like my age. So Monday I turned 48 and I'm like, what happened? I'm 30. Like,
I know. No, well, that's the thing. We kind of in our heads, we're stuck in our 30s. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think, but I just think actually originally I was a little bit like, I don't know, indignant at myself. Like, how could you miss this? But I just, I don't know. It just wasn't on my windshield. I think that's what it really was about. Like I was thinking, you know, I knew that the average age of menopause was 51, but I didn't really know about all of the stuff that can start happening leading up to it. I do really, really believe too, as you said, that, you know, seeing psychologists is not a bad thing, because I do feel very strongly in the work, like the coaching work that I do, that there is a pattern of, you know, we're being called to look at anything that does not serve us. And part of that, particularly like my personal experience is having experienced a fair bit of childhood trauma, and, you know, me thinking I'd done the work. And
hands up, join your girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, high five, you too.
Yeah.
But isn't that a beautiful thing? Because it's like, okay, it's bubbling to the surface because it's being called for you to love and hold it and to be compassionate and, you know, if needed, get some help around letting it go.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And The article possibly didn't really show the elements that I think are great about the whole process.
Yeah.
And you know, when I worked out that it was perimenopause and I wasn't having a nervous breakdown, but actually it would have been totally fair to be having a nervous breakdown, funny language, fair, because I was dealing with a shitload of stuff.
Yes.
But then the relief that I felt of, I'm heading into menopause. Oh, okay. And then the relief that I felt, even when I talked about that visceral surge of rage.
Yes.
I was excited by that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, okay, no, this is not me. This is all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And now I feel even more equipped to deal with it. And
yes.
I'm no longer taking it personally. And, you know,
it doesn't mean anything
I'm going
about
to speak
you.
up. I'm going to stand firm in my space. And what's very exciting is we get that whole thing about the things that aren't serving us.
Absolutely.
But it does mean we have to examine things. And the amazing thing, going to your point, and what's extraordinary about the way we are is the layers.
Yes.
We're working on ourselves for our whole lives, aren't we?
Yep, exactly.
And you suddenly realise that you don't grow up. You just get older.
I always thought I'd have my shit together by the time I turned 48 on Monday, like in a few days' time, and I'm like, no, still not.
No, you don't. I'm about to turn 55.
There you go. Okay.
And I don't. You know, some days I feel less equipped to do anything than I did in my 20s, but I was probably my overall well-being is probably a lot greater now.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I acknowledge that. And that doesn't mean I don't have days when I'm sort of still going, I feel anxious. I feel like I can't cope.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think of the perimenopause, you know, years, the span of years where we, you know, some people are experiencing life-altering symptoms, some people are not experiencing symptoms at all, and a lot of us are somewhere in between. But for me, it feels like I have zero fucks left to give. So I'm not wasting time pretending that I like you if I don't like you. I'm not trying to be anyone. I'm very happy in my skin. I have no tolerance for bullshit. So I think in my, you know, when you said, when you were asked whether you were going to be pregnant soon, I was sitting in that interview, I think, when I was about 23. There was no way I was going to question that person. I was way too young. I was
35.
Yeah. So
very different.
Much more wisdom, much more experience. I've lost my train of thought. Speaking of perimenopause brain.
I know. That was actually perfect.
That was perfect.
If it's not going to come back, I'm going to jump in and
go for it. Go.
Just to say, I think it's important for people to know, though, that although we might feel the zero fucks to give, it kind of comes with that having your shit together. I think what happens through that period is you get a very insistent call from whatever it is, from your core, from your higher self, from the universe, whatever you want to call it, that says, sort this shit out. Right? So it doesn't suddenly mean that you're brave in everything, but it forces you to keep examining it. So if there are things that you haven't dealt with, we talked about childhood trauma, but it might be things in your relationship. It might be stuff at work. It might be, and it's like it calls it out and it puts it in front of you in a way that you can hide from that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's because your body is being told that it's moving into another stage of life. And then there's and I mean, obviously things are changing with your hormones dramatically.
Yeah.
But that clear shift is telling you, that you're moving into the next phase and make it count.
Yes. I know what I was saying now, and it actually is leading to exactly what you were saying. So the zero fucks to give, low tolerance for bullshit, because I'm not, I don't want to stay quiet anymore. But also I feel for myself that and this is, you know, I'm in the middle of perimenopause. So for me, my resources of energy are much lower. And I think that all combines into exactly what you're talking about, that it's almost like, one of the effects of estrogen is to buffer stress. So it makes, it makes perfect sense that when our estrogen is going up and down, but overall in a downward projection, that we will have less ability to buffer stress. But I think it's that exactly what you're saying. There's the things that you've been ignoring, or the things that you haven't been looking at, or you've been too busy, or you've had enough emotional bandwidth to kind of cover up or mask or push away, you don't have it anymore. So you've got no choice. And I feel like it's the whisper to start with. And then if you keep ignoring, it's like the louder. And sometimes, unfortunately, it screams at us in physical complaints or, it manifests itself.
Yeah. And I think some of the things I list in my article with those things for sure. It's like, how hard do you have to be knocked over the head to start listening?
I was reading and I'm like, and then? And it's like a set of steak knives, that article. Do you want to actually, you don't necessarily have to go into every single thing, but certainly you talk a lot not a lot, but part of the article is talking about being the sandwich generation. So you've got the kids and you've got the parents, and I'm exactly there at the moment as well. What other things were going on? Because as you said, you used the word fair, and I would say it's almost like you'd be justified having a nervous breakdown. That's the word that came to my mind, because you had so many different blow-by-blow things. So what was going on in the background when you were traversing through all of that?
Oh, I mean, I put a lot of it out there, but it's funny, I put a lot of it out there, but there's still a bunch of other stuff, because anybody who's got kids, so I haven't documented stuff my kids may have been managing at the time. When my second daughter was born, so my mother was an alcoholic, and she ended up being
high five again.
There you go. Yeah. And she ended up having a really bad fall and being hospitalized and detoxing just after my daughter was born, So I was in a hospital when my daughter was a week, 10 days old, with us working out whether we needed to admit my mother. So there's a lot of other stuff, but that's part of the fact that I have that background means that I was so hardwired to say to myself, you're not allowed to lose your shit, because who's going to pick you up? Who's going to be there to, to take care of things if you don't? And so that's been, I guess, part of my work since then, that I don't have to hold the world up. But I think going into menopause meant I can't hold the world up.
Yes.
And it made me talk about it and start to say to people in my life, I need help. I need your help. So, I don't know if that sort of helps to answer the question, but there's always lots of stuff going on. And, I think the sort of the sandwich generation thing, anybody who's in it recognises it. And, we're very sort of hyper-responsible generation. I'm Gen X. Yep, you're in there too.
Yep.
And we were trained to be super hyper-responsible. And probably also then hypervigilant, which makes this whole menopausal bit has made it harder, because we were supposed to be able to manage everything. Another reason I'm really passionate about talking about things is we keep talking about normalising it. And it's because I see people in their silos feeling like they have to manage everything. And sometimes if we just open that up and just talk about it, like even the other day I was chatting to a girlfriend who was talking about some things going on, and I just said, oh, that's so normal. And it was painful sex, right?
Yeah.
And I went, oh, God, it was terrible for me, terrible.
Yeah.
And when I talk about coming across Jenny Mansberg and things changing our life, it was just because I went, that doesn't, no, don't tell me that I'm at this stage and I'm never going to be able to have sex again.
I know. I was like, hang on a minute, I want a refund.
And for me, and it's such an individual decision, I ended up on HRT because, but I'd been so hardwired to think HRT was inherently evil. And then I went, you know what? For some people, it's a really good decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I thought, I know about that now, but there are a bunch of women out there who do not know this.
Yep.
And they're either having painful sex or they are having a terrible time in their relationships. And, again, things that I talked about in the article, relationships breaking down. And it makes my heart break, because,
it's horrible.
if we just open it up, we just talk about it, it has to be able to make a difference.
There's so many, two things that I want to go back to before I get to, because I want to talk about Dr. Ginny as well, because you talk about two books in the article, or two sources of information that were really helpful to you. And I really want to bring them to the awareness of our audience as well. As a child of someone who has an addiction issue, I certainly learnt to be overly responsible. And I think then, exactly like you are saying, the Gen X thing and the conditioning that we received. But I also think that's one of the biggest gifts of menopause, because, as you say, I literally at the moment don't have the energy to be able to hold everyone up. Yeah. So it's forcing me to change patterns.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Like, what a blessing.
It's so empowering.
So good. I actually sat the other day, I mean, I won't go into details, but I sat the other day having a conversation with that particular person in my life, and I was very calmly just saying, it's actually not my problem. I need
what I started doing. How about you guys sort that out?
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Whereas I've always
been the endless facilitator.
Yeah, absolutely. And hypervigilant too. So, and that's the other thing, that this is why, initially why I began like practicing yoga myself, but also that hypervigilance and the nervous system dysregulation that happens when you've got a childhood that's a bit, rocky or unsafe feeling. Is that if our baseline is this super hypervigilant, and then we have hormone changes on top of it, it's not a good combination.
And you know what? I mean, we could talk forever, but I'm just observing as you're talking about that. Yeah. I've written previously about my mother, and she was of that first generation that thought they were going to have it all, and then got slammed back down into to sit in the corner, and then got either self-medicated or got told to have a Bex and a lie down. Then I bet there are a lot of people listening who grew up with that kind of childhood. There was a lot of addiction happening in the 70s and 80s. There is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then in the next generation of women who were told that really now we really, really could have it all, it's sort of like, I'm thinking for myself, I almost went into hyper mother mode. My mother couldn't do it. I suffered because I wasn't mothered as I feel like I should have been. Yep. So I will be that mother.
You and I have had parallel lives. I was literally just talking to a friend the other day. So my girls are 12 months apart. And my youngest daughter actually learnt how to crawl in a hospital because my dad had a stroke in between. So exactly parallel, well, not exactly, but similar experiences. One of the things that I have really become aware of is exactly what you're saying. So the way I was describing it to a friend, so my girls are 17 and 18, so just turned 17 and 18. And I have spent all of their childhood up until now overstepping my boundaries. So over delivering, over trying to overprotect, over whatever. And, I think compared to how I was parented, which was not at all, I think I've done a bloody good job.
Yeah.
But I very, very, very clearly see how far the pendulum has swung in the other direction.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. And it's been it's been an absolute blessing to not have the emotional bandwidth. I've got both of my kids have chronic health conditions that are a bit tricky, and we're often in hospitals racing everywhere and whatnot.
We're sisters in another
life. Exactly. I know. I was reading the article going, oh my God. Apart from the fact that you have had this amazing career in publishing, that I'm like, oh my God, she was part of Harry Potter's book. Harry Potter's book, J.K. Rowling's. So I think, but again, that's the blessing. It's like I can't continue to use my precious resources in the way that I always have. Oh, just lost my headphone. But it's an invitation to a different way of being. And there's this beautiful cyclical thing.
Exactly. And we can role model that for our girls. Yes. And I think that's the difference, because a lot of people now are so much more open in there, and we have different relationships with our kids, not just the ones we've described.
Yes.
And so we can talk about some of our experiences and the things we've learned along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think some of what I'm describing too is it's the gender paradigm as well.
Yeah.
And that's why so many of us in our generation felt at times that we were failing on all fronts, even when we were actually achieving on every front. Yeah.
Juggling all the balls.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping forward now. So you're talking about the painful sex, and same thing, I wasn't aware that this was potentially an issue. Hasn't been an issue for me so far, but I really feel like, as you said before, education, very important.
Yeah.
So my dear friend, the beautiful Sonia Lovell, I'm always shouting her out, has an amazing podcast called Dear Menopause. Sonia's a breast cancer survivor, and she talks about all different things.
I talked to Sonia the other day.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So, yeah, amazing woman. That's been one of my biggest sources. But you mentioned 2 different books in the article. Can you talk about those and how they actually helped with your
for sure,
self-normalizing?
And we published those books because I wanted them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is a privilege to be a publisher and to sort of try and tune in to what's needed. Yeah. And also Corinne, who I referenced, who was one of the publishers at Murdoch. And that was coming out of conversations of, again, me going, what the fuck? There aren't any books on this.
Yeah.
And so we went to Dr. Ginny with the idea of the M word, and Dr. Ginny, when we went to her, because she was already a very visible spokesperson.
Yes.
Around women's health. And also we just loved her straight talking, highly informed, really reassuring, and just clear thinking delivery. Yeah. And that's exactly what that book is. And so I researched things because I was interested in the whole space. And then there were things I learned from Dr. Ginny just from reading that book. Yeah. And that, I said, it changed my life. Like it sent me on a totally different trajectory. Then we published the book Great Sex Starts at 50 from Tracy Cox. And Tracy is a sex therapist. And it was the same thing. It's like, hey, just because we've hit midlife, it doesn't mean we want to stop having sex. No. And of course, there are times we do want to stop having sex because of all the other stuff. But it's to understand that it's at that stage of life, and you know, these are the things you wish you knew when you were younger too. Yes. The great sex comes from also really strong communication, from being respectful of each partner and how they function, and all those things that, you know, whether it's menopause or whether it's just that our bodies are aging. Or we have different sex drives at different times, and that can affect men as well as women. Yes. So those were 2 useful books for me, but books that I thought were really important to get out there, and that, you know, my husband got so much out of those books, and then was proselytizing about both of them to all of his friends, which was just very exciting. And then a book I didn't mention, but I think is wonderful for younger people who menstruate is Lucy Peach's Period Queen, if you haven't come across. I don't know that one. Okay. And Lucy is a period preacher. I love it. Yeah, she's an ex-school teacher, and she's an educator around menstruation. Yeah. Beautiful. And also, you know, I've been chatting to a few people since I did this article. Yeah. And there are some really great materials out there. There's somebody who's got a platform that's Sparrow Thrive. And what those are all about is actually understanding and embracing our cycle, not trying to control and manage and compartmentalize. Yeah. And you were talking before about sort of how you were feeling, maybe it was before we got on the chat, sort of where you're at in the cycle and you need to lie down. You couldn't have said that at work. Yes. I think actually we're going to need to find ways of being able to say that stuff at work. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, the paradigm that we're living in at work is still a patriarchal paradigm that doesn't actually allow any room for any person of any gender or who identifies with any gender to be anything other than that. Yes. And so it doesn't allow us to be human beings in the workforce. And that's the big challenge, is how we do that and still have functioning delivery, you know, businesses with deliverables. But yes. I strongly believe that we can. Yeah.
Well, I think what businesses will become more aware of, the more that we talk about this, is allowing everyone to be in flow with whatever their natural creative or productive or whatever cycle it is, you will have happier human beings and therefore a more efficient, more productive.
You'll have better outcomes. We've just got to learn how to manage that flow in a different way, because we've been deeply programmed to manage our workflow in a particular way. But look how we adapted through COVID, and COVID was terrible, but it's also given us a gift in terms of shifting the dialogue on that. Like we went sort of 10, 20 years in 3, and things that people said were not possible just happened.
Yeah, so good. It's so good because, I mean, I've always had jobs where I've negotiated to work at home because I can't stand, and, you know, where I live, I'm 45 minutes away, which is nothing in a big city. I know I say that and then I think there's people listening that will be commuting for an hour and a half. But for me, in a car, 45 minutes is almost unbearable. I hate driving. So I've always negotiated that. But the flexibility honouring that COVID was awfully disruptive and damaging for a lot of people also. It's just music to my ears to hear that businesses are being more open to being flexible around everything, around kids, around aging parents, around whatever,
And it has to happen. And because, as I said, people like me who were championing those things, it's still hard. I was still pushing. If I was doing it on behalf of people, I was pushing an agenda.
Yes.
And I was seen to be pushing an agenda. And sometimes it meant that the agenda that it looked like I was pushing was, I don't know, somehow not in the best interest of the business. And I love that this is starting finally to become normalised.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm interested in 2 other questions. You've moved into more of the financial empowerment industry, and I'm really, really keen to hear what your insights are, because we've been talking about, the gender paradigm, all of these broken systems, right?
Yeah.
So can you share with us a bit more about how working in financial empowerment has, what do we need to be shifting there? Because we're here to status quo challenge. So here's the floor, Lou.
Look, it's all interconnected, and obviously financial empowerment for women is an area that I'm deeply passionate about, but I'm quite passionate about it for everybody, that everybody deserves access to well-being.
Yes,
and financial well-being is a core pillar, or even having access to feeling okay financially is fundamental to all elements of our well-being.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the gendered issues, and I won't speak now to all the other sort of issues around injustices, but the gendered issues that we've talked about have a direct knock-on to our financial well-being as women later in life.
Yeah.
The fact that we might take time for more women than men take parental leave, and that we're not paying super or being paid super during that period. So simple things like being able to have conversations early on between partners to see if there's not to see if there's a way, but to actually shift the contributions, so there are contributions going into the mother's superannuation fund. That can make an enormous difference because of the compound effect of superannuation. And many women don't even think about that. In fact, many people don't even think about superannuation in like a lot of people ever. And it's one of the keys to future financial well-being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and there are a myriad of issues, and I mean, probably a lot of people will have seen that documentary on the ABC recently, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is really deeply attached to gender norms.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, something that popped into my head before when you were talking about something else, and I didn't revisit it, and that kind of is linked to what I'm just about to say as well, with I think I am correct. I'm pretty sure I'm correct in the age band being that I think it's 45 to 60-year-old single women are the highest proportion of homeless people. I might be getting the ages wrong.
They're set to become the highest portion. And it's something like, well over 400,000 women already. And it's going to grow exponentially. And it makes, you can see why. all those things that I've documented in my article, like I was in a different situation. I was the primary owner. But easy to flip it around the other way. Yeah. So if I then went, you know what, I can't deal with this. I think we need to get divorced. You know, so if I did that to my husband, he'd be in we've done all the right things. Of course he would be sorted, but I think that generation is going to be really, really badly affected.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. Obviously, we've got to work out all the ways that we can reduce that and support those women. But another reason it's so urgent to be getting this message out there is if we don't, it's going to be the next generation of women and the generation after that. And we're never going to correct it. And the other thing I'd say about the financial piece is, and I get quite angry about this, that the cost burden that women bear or people who menstruate bear, that people who do not.
Yep.
I think that most women still bear the primary cost of contraception.
Yep, absolutely.
We know all about, obviously, period products, the myriad of things that people are doing, you know, because they might be on the pill not for contraception, but because they've got, challenges. They might have endometriosis, they might have a bunch of things. And literally every day I see something else, another cost. And I'm watching, I've got a 19-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter, and our daughter's lucky in that we help her out with some of those things, a lot of those things.
Yeah.
But if she didn't have us that sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
Yeah.
Very similar experience. So
that means that maybe, let's say conservatively, if you're somebody who is on the pill and you have your period, I mean, you might be using a menstrual cup or whatever, but I'll go old school, you're using period products. So conservatively, you're out of pocket maybe $60 a month.
Yeah.
That the male of your age is not. So again, if you look at the compound effect of that, that's huge.
Yep. Ad infinitum for around about 30 to 35 years. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So many things the other thing that's popping into my head about, not directly related to the money end of things, but I feel like it's this whole picture of going through the perimenopause changes and the potential that there's financial ends of things, you know, the stress impacting at a similar age, but also this is a UK statistic, but the highest rate of female suicides between 45 and 55 as well. So you just think about, you know, I was going through rage and crying. I'm very, very blessed and very aware of how supported and beautifully partnered I am by my husband that just went, okay, just let's just take a breath and figure out what's going on. But for people that, you know, maybe have relationship challenges already or whatever the picture is, and they have to work because they've got a financial burden, and like all of these things are building up into a not great picture.
No,
potentially.
No, it can be the statistics are telling us it can be an incredibly fragile time.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are very vulnerable. Again, why it's so important for us to be talking about it and throwing open the net, because as I keep saying, it's not just about women talking to other women. Women talking to other women is a start.
Yes.
And women aren't doing that. I'm always nervous about being prescriptive or demanding, but I feel like we could be doing a lot more of that. And that's why I'm saying, like, let's push aside those things of feeling like it's icky to talk about painful sex or bleeding or any of that. No, they're wonderfully normal expressions of our bodies, our extraordinary bodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we need to bring everybody into it. And actually there's a responsibility. There is a responsibility for the men in our lives to be part of that. It is not just up on us.
No, of course not.
These are real societal issues is the wrong word. It's really up to us to share it. And it's always been that, that's just sort of women's stuff. And that's bullshit. And it's time for that to change. Yeah.
Do you feel like I'm feeling into like both of the relationships that my girls have at the moment? Like it's very, very like everyone talks about periods. Everyone, like the guys say, go out and get the hot water bag, whatever, whatever it is. So that is becoming, well, at least for the young people that I know and I'm interacting with, less and less like an icky topic. And
I think that's fabulous, and that's been my experience as well. Yes. But that's why I was so alarmed when I read the Deloitte report and saw that actually those numbers are not, the percentages are not shifting. So I think it's the people that we're seeing, and I draw such enormous optimism from Gen Z people. I just think
me too.
Awesome, and I love the way they push us, and I want to be there with them, driving that change.
Yes.
But I still think there's systemic support that needs to happen, and I think it needs to happen because our kids have had access to us, and we're talking openly, and we're supporting them to talk openly, and we're asking our girls and telling them, like, learn from us.
Yes,
the good things that we've done and the things that we wish, or that we've kind of fought for, or we wish were available then. Yeah, but I think it's education. I think it has to start much earlier, and there are so many things that are, sadly are struggling around our education system and the curriculum. But if we can find ways to get those conversations normalised at the very beginning, I think that's where it needs to start.
Do you feel like, even looking at the Deloitte report, because where I was going with that was, I feel very hopeful, using the same language as what
actually that was Clan Australia and Deloitte report.
That as our girls' generations reach perimenopause and menopause, it feels like, to me, it's the last frontier, but then the statistics don't tell the same story. I think in my bubble, I certainly am feeling like, periods are normalised, motherhood and the change that happens across motherhood much more, I don't know, accepted is not really the right word, but it still feels like perimenopause and menopause is still that taboo, like, oh, don't go there.
Yeah, and look, I think it will shift because we're the first, there is a frontier. We are a group of women who are going through that, and we're the same women who stood up and fought for childcare. I mean, I know the generation of feminists before us did that too.
Yes.
But we were probably the first generation that got into positions that were sort of where we could have influence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's happening with perimenopause and menopause. But that's why it's even more important that we are insistent and use that influence, because there's still a piece around the shift in the workplace to support it. Because I don't know how my daughter's going to go if she hits a conservative workplace. Will her voice, how many voices will be there supporting it? Because if you don't have HR people who are as equally engaged in shifting those things, we're going to hit up at a problem there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much so. On that note, if you were, just say, out of the blue, there is this perfect opportunity to form an intervention campaign for change in the workplace, where would you start in terms of, goodness, everything we've talked about? But let's specifically talk about perimenopause and menopause, because otherwise it's too broad a question.
Yeah.
What would you like to see change?
Well, I think the first thing is education. I actually think, I know CEOs have got a lot on their plate, but I think that they should make sure they're aware.
Yeah.
And, one of the reasons I wrote that article is I hope a lot of CEOs will read it. I think that programs like the one I referenced, I'm having a mental blank. See, it's happening to me. Dr. Ginny's again. That's a great program, and there are other programs around. So to actually have them available in workplaces. But I think also, so CEOs and HR need to be aware of this. There are other great resources. Jean Hales have a fantastic, and that's a great place to send a lot of people, because it's just so factual.
It is very factual. So it's not icky. It's just the biological facts, science facts.
Science facts, exactly.
Yeah.
And to build knowledge, right? Then for it to be seen as a legitimate issue,
Yes.
And because what happens so often is this thing of, oh, well, if we cater for them, then we'll have to do it for somebody else. It's like, these are all things, you've got people in your workforce, right? So I think that, and active programs, and then clearly sort of obvious support for people. But it's not just menopause, it's the whole journey through
everything. Yeah, absolutely. The person that I was just interviewing before, a fair bit of my last few years in corporate has been in disability services, and I just interviewed someone who's multiple-time Paralympian, and we were talking about the barriers in workplaces, etc. And so we're really talking about workplaces that cater or can have enough flexibility to cater for all the humans that work for them.
Totally.
With whatever challenges and energy changes and flows. Yeah.
Exactly. My younger daughter is autistic, and so I see things through her eyes, and the limitations at a workplace and all those things we were talking about that structured way of working. Is that also needs to shift.
Oh, my goodness. This has been balm for my soul. Thank you so much. You are a rock star, no matter what. No matter what you say.
I've loved it.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed. And I just realised when you said program before, you were actually talking about Don't Sweat It, not the
Don't Sweat
TV
It
program. Yeah, so Don't Sweat It is Dr. Ginny's program. We'll put that in the show notes. I love the fact that you wrote this article that's like, I'm going to pull all of these things that we don't talk about enough out into the light. And I have no doubt, having looked at the response to this article online, and particularly in LinkedIn, where, the CEOs are, they're watching, they're listening, and just creating the waves and just opening conversations, because that's what we need. No change happens before people are aware of the issues, because I really do strongly feel like if I was completely not aware that I was in perimenopause, how the flipping hell is the average man supposed to know anything about it?
I know. Like, and then we get angry. And I was saying to Sonia the other day, I don't want to be angry. I'm happy with a bit of rage every so often.
Yeah, rage is good. Rage burns away shit.
But I don't want to stay in polemic.
No.
I want to educate. I want to just share experience, and then I think we could solve a lot of problems in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact that I guess I'm circling back to the same thing we're talking about with our girls, but I actually did say to my family, one of my girls is not at home anymore, but I said to my family, this year is just about me taking care of me, because I do really feel that emotionally these ups and downs, that they're just calling for me to turn inwards and just listen and respond. So I've actually had literal conversations where it's like, I'm not going to be available for any extra stuff. Like, obviously I'll be here if you need me, but I'm not, it's not just business as usual.
I think that's fantastic. I'm still not, I'm still a work in progress on that front.
But, and you know what? 15 is a lot younger than 17 and 18.
No, it's a whole conversation in its own right, about because a lot of us had kids later. Because we participated because we thought we had to establish our careers. What's happened, and I think that's another reason that a lot of this stuff is blowing up, is we've got the perfect storm of all of those things happening as we're going through perimenopause and menopause.
Absolutely. Definitely. When you think back, like biologically speaking, our peak, procreation stage is way earlier than what we're pushing it. And that's fine. That doesn't make it wrong that we've done that.
No,
but
exactly.
It does come with consequences.
It's actually a much bigger topic in a whole lot of ways.
Absolutely. Yes. Long live the cycles of life. I have so enjoyed our chat. It's been so beautiful to connect. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for your truth talking. And I can't wait to see what these conversations and more of these conversations start to shift for us, because I do feel like we are the front runners in this big change.
Which is kind of exciting at the same time.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll get excited when it's not the last 3 days of my cycle, if you don't mind.
What a perfect way to finish.
Thanks so much for tuning into another episode, and I trust you're walking away with inspiration, maybe some chiropractic adjustments of the soul where you've realized perhaps some ways that you're getting in your own way, or something that needs to be healed, or something that's calling to you that your heart really, really wants to birth or create or step into in this second cycle of life. And if that's you, I am throwing my arms wide open and inviting you to check out all of the ways that we could potentially partner together at kyliepatchett.com.au. That's my website for the podcast, and also one-on-one and group programs in midlife mentorship, yoga and breath work in specifically designed menopause classes online, and also, super excitingly, a list of retreats around Australia that I have been blessed to partner with some pretty darn spectacular humans who also help midlife mavens through this transition point. So if you are looking for some support, some community, some tools, just a safe place to actually reconnect to who you are, what you want, and come home to your own power and magnificence, I would love to welcome you into any one of those containers. So head on over to kyliepatchett.com.au, and I will be back in your ears very, very soon.